ball. Let's talk about the weekend. We'll finish with Munster. We'll go backwards. Leinster's performance against Exeter. This is an Exeter team, the English champions, unbeaten at home for a year, and they never really looked like they were going to win that game.
Never. I thought Leinster, from the word go, they came out with a real intent, game plan, and I think you can have game plans and decide what way you want to play, and sometimes in all sport it's a template for keeping you structured and organised and knowing what you're doing. But ultimately, particularly when you go away from home, you hear the word character a lot, and you hear the word passion and togetherness, and that's what Leinster showed yesterday. Obviously they have a good skill set, and they had a structure and a plan where to attack Exeter, but a lot of the stuff in the 50-50 battles, like balls being kicked in the air, one-on-one tackles, getting back up off the ground, Leinster were really...
The goal line stand just before half-time that they went absolutely... They celebrated like they'd won the match.
Yeah.
And on their own...
and these are massive moments. I remember when I played, and was one of the big things when we were in a fairly successful Munster team, was the pride you have in those hard moments in a game. They're the kind of ones you really remember. Is you get a score or a penalty or a try or whatever, and you're down the field, and inevitably good teams will come back and challenge you.
Yeah.
So Exeter were always going to ask questions of Leinster, and for them to defend the way they did,
celebrating the Cullen try.
Yeah, and it was togetherness, it was collectiveness in the way they worked for each other. And then obviously they like watching the game, and even the interview with Rob Baxter after they scored that try, and Steenson missed the penalty for him to go ahead. It's 8-8. You think, a bit of a momentum shift here, and then suddenly Leinster just changed gears, just with the simple things, and Exeter started making little mistakes, like losing the kicking battle, a couple of knock-ons, but the pressure Leinster put on them was unbelievable. It was sensational effort level from both sides now, because they were defending at times with their lives dependent on it as well. It was a great win for them.
There was 44 phases involved in that Jack Cullen try. There was obviously two huge defensive efforts from Leinster in particular. I can't remember how many phases were involved in those two chances for Exeter. You'd imagine that the glory of the win outweighs the toll that those three humongous efforts take on the Leinster bodies.
Yeah, it's but I think physically when you come off a field, and Tyke Furlong said that yesterday or afterwards, he was man of the match. He was outstanding, that they were sucking diesel. You could see after those long phases stopped, guys with their hands on their knees, panting like mad, and you can imagine running around for that long, making tackles, the physical toll. The important part of it is the recovery. No, they didn't get home last night. They had to stay, and that wasn't part of the plan.
No, it's
so
not
that
right.
might make it's just a little bit tricky. Getting back in last night, ice baths, recovery today, off. So it'll have to be a light week from Rhys Ruddock. He looks like he's going to be out.
Sexton out as well. I don't think Cullen was too worried last night, but you still never know.
He's never that worried, and then suddenly players miss 3-4 weeks, and it's like, all right, that was a bit more serious.
Yeah, obviously with some bangs and knocks, you don't know. The Ruddock one looks really looks worrying when you're hobbling off like that. Sexton's, he has so many bangs and knocks throughout games, you just don't know. But they were fantastic, and it was a great win. If you look at the pool, and like they're 14 points after 3 games.
They were home and hose until Montpellier went to Glasgow.
Points with,
it's amazing.
So they've got they've got to be wary, because they lost. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, they beat Northampton over their fantastic win.
Got a bonus point away.
Came back and beat them in Dublin. So I think that'll stand them in good stead. They'll still got to be very wary of Exeter. I think Exeter will be more disappointed with their performance, because they throw the ball around a lot, and they try to take on Leinster around the fringes and up front, which they're very efficient, and they profit a lot from that in the top 4 or in the Aviva Premiership, where they're very dominant with pick and goes, running hard over people, being direct. Leinster just stopped them at source there, so I think they might change their approach coming to Dublin, but they're in a great position now, Leinster.
One of the numbers that came up in a lot of the papers this morning was the amount of internationals, that Exeter only had 3 players involved with the England squad last month, whereas 7 players from Leinster didn't even play yesterday, that were involved with Ireland last month. So is this kind of everybody kind of doing a U-turn on Exeter, that they really are overachievers, and that potentially they don't have the quality all the time? No,
I don't think so. I think they have a really good side, and you can imagine the amount of clubs and the amount of players who are available for selection for England, that they have a bigger playing pool. So to look down on Exeter maybe a little bit and say, well, you know, why haven't they more internationals? They probably have more collective, outstanding club players, with a couple of exceptions, like Noel, like Slade, like Armand, the wing forward, the number 6, who was fantastic, and he shows why Eddie Jones has called him into the squad. But not many superstars, but collectively they're so efficient and they're so hard to beat in Sandy Park. That's why this Leinster win is so impressive.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a case of, you know, they got lucky. They were dominant from the word go, in my opinion. Set the tone early on.